Hey everyone, this is Jeremy on to the tabletop, and today we're taking a look at Bloody Mary, one of the fighters from the Unmatched games. Bloody Mary is a fighter from the game Battle of Legends Volume 2. So Bloody Mary is a character from Legend that supposedly, if you speak her name 3 times in front of a mirror, she will appear and... Okay, I don't know exactly what happens, but her name's Bloody Mary, so you probably don't want her, coming out of the mirror to you. One thing I'm going to get into really quickly here before we delve into any of Mary's deck is that this is Unmatched's first foray into something sort of horror-like. And a lot of the artwork is... a little bit more, I'm not going to go with gory, but it'll be a little bit more scary and disturbing, and pretty mildly disturbing at that, but still a bit more than what a lot of people are going to be used to. So if you're particularly sensitive to something like that, or you're going to play this with a child or something, this may not be the fighter to use for them. We can see that Mary's figure here has multiple copies of Mary kind of bursting out of this mirror that is shattered. It's actually 3 different Marys coming out of there, which is interesting. You're going to see that 3 is a number that's going to show up a lot for Mary. So let's take a look at her card here. We're going to see that Bloody Mary... Wait just a second, guys. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. I was having some trouble with my mirror. Alright, so anyway, we see that Bloody Mary is a melee fighter with a health of 16. We see that she has a move of 3, which is thematic because it's 3. And we see Mary's special ability. At the start of your turn, if you have exactly 3 cards in hand, gain an action. Now this is a big deal for a number of reasons. We're going to see that a lot of Mary's cards have effects that only kick in if it is her 3rd action. So that's one thing to think about. Being able to get a 3rd action on your turn means that you could maneuver twice to get up to somebody, and as a 3-move fighter that lets you move effectively 6 spaces across the board to get that attack in. And it also means that there will be times where your opponents may or may not want to attack you, such as if you were sitting there with 4 cards in your hand. They may not want to attack you because they don't want to have you spend a defense card and drop down to 3. Alternatively, if you have 3 cards in hand, they are more likely to come run up and attack you because they want to get one of those cards out of your hand. Now, Mary does have some stuff in her kit to help her on that count. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these cards here. First of all, we'll start with Bloody Requiem, which is Mary's bonus attack. This bonus attack being a new mechanic that was introduced here in Battle of Legends Volume 2. So we see here on Bloody Requiem is an attack of 3. Bloody Reprise is if your opponent played a card against Bloody Requiem, this card's value is that card's printed value. So if they defend on this first one, then unless there was a cancel effect thrown in there, the second one isn't going to end up being a 0. It will be whatever they defended with. So if they defend with a 3, they get 3 coming back at them. If it's a 2, they get 2 back. 4, they have 4 coming back at them. This is just kind of mirroring, which is something that is thematically present in a lot of Mary's deck. Okay, we'll go here into some of Bloody Mary's next attacks. Wait, Mary, you get back in that mirror. You get back in that mirror. I did not say your name 3 times. Get back in there. There you go. Sorry, guys. She's like that sometimes. So, speak 3 times. This is an attack of 3 during combat. If this is your third action this turn, the value of this card is 7 instead. You kind of want to play that on your third turn because, 7. It's a big attack. So this is one of your third turn cards right here. Next we will have Ghostly Touch. An attack of 1. During combat, you may boost this attack. After combat, if this is your third action this turn, recover 3 health. So this is Mary's healing card. She has 2 of these. And once again, you really want to try to get this one off on a third turn because you've got 6 potential healing there, but you've got to do it on the third turn. You can still boost that, but it's a base of 1 that you're boosting on top of. So, it's not going to be a whole lot. Although, as you can see there, Bloody Requiem has a boost of 4, so you can bump that up a good ways with the right card. Next, we have Out of the Mirror. An attack of 1. During combat, your opponent discards 1 random card. Add its boost value to this card's value. After combat, if this is your third action, draw a card. So you get a little bit of card draw on your third action. This is one that you're okay if you have to play this when it's not your third action. As you can see, this one's sort of like Ghostly Touch in that it gets boosted, but in this case, it's your opponent discarding a random card. And making them discard a card is always better than you having to boost it. Okay, going into Mary's defenses, we will go and start with Evade. This is a defense of 3. After combat, draw 1 card. All right, this is pretty simple. Just defense of 3, draw a card. You got 3 of these. This is a great card. If you have this in your hand, when you have 3 cards and someone comes and attacks you before your turn to try to drop you down, you can defend with this and end up drawing back up to 3. So this can be very powerful for you. This is one of the creepier cards there that I don't know what movie or film that all started from, but yeah. Mirror Image, you have 2 copies of this, a defense of 0. The value of this card is equal to the printed value of your opponent's card. All right, so that's pretty good, but a few things to think about. It's equal to the printed value, and the printed value is going to be what is right up here. It is not going to be necessarily what the final attack value is going to be. Such as a Momentous Shift has a printed value of 3, but when activated properly will hit you for a 5, so you could take a couple damage on that. You can look at characters that have a buff on their ability like Alice and Achilles, that they would generally have 2 higher than what's printed on it. And then if you were to play this into something like a Beast Form or Forever Hide, where they can just dump a bunch of cards and ramp it up, you're just getting the defense value of that base card and not the boosted up value. And there's many others in there. Ambush, Second Shot, Arthur's ability. There's a lot of them that can get over this. Next, we'll get into her schemes. Closer than she appears. Move Bloody Mary up to 1 space. Draw 1 card, gain 1 action. Now this seems pretty good. Like you can move a space. Okay, that's, 1 space might be a difference. A card is always nice. Gaining an action is nice. But this is a big deal for Mary because this lets you manufacture a third turn. So if you didn't start your turn with 3 cards in hand, you can play this and get that third action so that you can use those effects on your other cards. So this is really huge. And if you don't get these cards, discarded and thrown out of your hand, that guarantees you at least twice that you're going to be able to get that third action and be able to use those abilities on some of those cards. And that lets you kind of do it when you want to. It can also be really useful if you're starting on the number 1 space on Hanging Gardens and your opponent's down there on number 2. You can get your 3 move, play Closer Than She Appears, drop up one more space, and now you get to attack with the high ground while you use one of your third action cards. So if you're ever starting the game with Closer Than She Appears and one of your big third action attacks right at the start of the game, and you're within 4 spaces of hitting somebody, you may want to think about doing that. Stolen Memories. Look at an opponent's hand and choose a card. Your opponent may discard it. If they don't, their hero takes damage equal to its boost value. So this is about getting rid of cards or dealing some damage. And you can look at this at 2 different ways. You can either pick a card with a low boost value, knowing that they're probably going to keep it and just deal like 1 or 2 damage to them. Because if it's a boost value of 1 and it's a decent card, they may just hang on to it. However, the cards that have like high boost values, 3s, and the ones that have 4s, you can pick that and they are not going to be as likely to keep that card. And you can get rid of some really good card that way, or they have to take a huge hit. So it's a big choice for them on what they are going to do. Infinity Mirror, we're getting into our versatiles. This is a versatile 4. After combat, choose one of the fighters in the combat and move them up to 4 spaces. Nothing wrong with that card. That's actually pretty powerful. This is a lot better than like Skirmish or Leap Away. Broken Glass, versatile of 3. During combat, you may increase or decrease the value of this card by 1. After combat, if the value of this card matches your opponent's card, draw 1 card and the opposing fighter takes 2 damage. So with this being a 3, you stand a decent chance of being able to match what they are throwing out there, particularly if you use this as an attack. So attacking with it, most defenses don't go over a 4. And if they're not defending at all or defending with a 1, you'll still go ahead and ramp it up to 4 and get a good bit of damage there too. And if you need to use it on defense, you can, and maybe you'll get lucky that it's a lower attack. If you can't make it match it, if it ends up going to something 5 or greater that's being thrown at you, you can ramp this up to a 4 and still get a pretty good defense off of it. So it's a very useful card. Jump Scare, 2 copies of Jump Scare. If Bloody Mary shares no zones with the space she started in this turn, this card's value is 6 instead. All right, this is Mary's version of a momentous shift. And this is a momentous shift that goes up to a 6. Now she has got to not share any zones that she started with on it, which can be a lot more interesting, and it's definitely something that you can pull off. In this zone here, she's just in that light blue. She can go up here and she's completely out of that zone now. And the same if you go down here. If you start on a multi-zone, it's going to be a little bit harder to get away, but you can still do it. And so it's just a more powerful momentous shift. It takes a little bit more work, but can definitely hit for some power there. This is definitely better used as a attack. As a defense, there's not going to be a lot of times that you're going to be getting that 6 out of it as a defense. So, Trick of the Light, 3 copies. A versatile 2, you may place Bloody Mary in an empty space adjacent to the opposing fighter. All right, so this can be used for a lot of things. This can get her out of a pin. If it is a ranged fighter, this is a good way to get up right next to them. So it can be useful. It's also, you may place, so you don't necessarily have to do it. So that's helpful. And finally, we're going to see that Mary has the standard 3. Wait, is that not 3? It says 2. Okay, Mary has 2 feints. Now she has some of the better feint art out of all the feints in Unmatched, but this is your versatile of 2. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. You've only got 2, so you've got to think about those feints a little bit more than others. Okay, so we can see here the Bloody Mary. All right, no. Get back in that mirror. Don't make me go over there. All right. So anyway, we see that she has a very unique deck here. And let's talk about a few cards in here. And the ones that I want to talk about are going to be these cards that have the effect on the third turn and also jump scare. Now, if you're playing someone that doesn't have feints or cancel effects or cards that just completely negate the value of attacks, then you're in pretty good shape with these. These are all really good against like Yananga, who doesn't have any of those. For your other fighters, these are going to be the things that draw feints. Okay, if you play a card on the third turn against someone and they have a feint, they are going to play it, because if you feint Mary on the third turn, taking things such as high ground out of it, the worst you're doing is taking 1 damage here on speak 3 times, and you'll completely block these other 2. So you got to think about that while these are powerful for a third turn, they are very much big things that will draw feints. Additionally, jump scare. If they see Mary leave her zone and move up to them and attack them, they may be scared about a jump scare. What does that mean? Well, it means that sometimes on your third turn, you're going to want to attack with something else, not necessarily a jump scare, but something else that you would be okay drawing a feint to try to pull some feints out of them so that you can use this on another third turn. And jump scare, occasionally if you move out of your zone to go attack somebody, you may once again want to go attack with something else. Also, additionally, out of the mirror is a pretty good one to play if it's not your third turn, because the only effect on this one on a third turn is drawing 1 card. You still get them discarding a card and adding the boost value to this. So this is a pretty good one to play when it's not your third turn, if you're not so worried about that card draw, and sneak this thing past them when they aren't expecting it to be there. And the other big thing with her is going to be just kind of managing your hand size, because you're going to be running with a lower amount of cards than what you typically do with most fighters. You need to keep it lower so that you can get to that 3. Sometimes you can just get a lot of cards drawn up. If you get 7 cards in hand, it could take you quite a while to get down to that 3 cards that you need to be able to play the effects on those. And sometimes also a third turn will just kind of happen organically at times, and you may not necessarily be prepared for it. You may not have good defenses. I've seen people end up having to do a triple maneuver on their third turn, which feels really bad as Mary, because you're just sticking a bunch of cards in her hand and you're not doing anything on it, and you kind of feel like you're wasting the ability. So that is Bloody Mary. If you have any comments about this, you can go down into the comment section and let me know what you think of those. You can also give this video a thumbs up and a like to let me know that you like it, because that's always helpful. And if you want to, you can subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss what... Dang it, Mary!